Yo, so I'm here to do a Musketeer guide. This is gonna be a bit rushed, and I probably will forget to mention a few things as I want to get it done as soon as I can. Because in a few weeks I probably won't be playing CS much, as that's when I'm gonna start going into my classes again and get on life. Right, basically to start things off, Musketeer has a very high skill floor, but its skill ceiling is sort of below average, I would say. The reason I say this is basically because, I've been playing Musketeer since CS5. I've been playing it for a while. And as long as you have accuracy and stuff like that, you're good, but like, you can't really do anything unique. You basically have to go by the book. And yeah, that's why the skill ceiling is pretty low. Alright, the first thing to talk about is the LMB. It is your primary fire. It does 15 damage each shot. It's low hitbox, very small, and low hitbox is a plus in my opinion. If it was higher, it would be very, very, very bad. So the low hitbox helps a lot. The reason I say the low hitbox is good on the LMB is mostly because, ground to ground it always hit, but the low hitbox is very good against people who jump, because if someone jumps and you jump right after them, like you're a bit delayed, that's fine. Your shot will still hit because while they're falling down and while you're going up, since your bullet is lower or has a low hitbox, it'll line up on them and hit them basically. As for when you click for the LMB, it has a decently long startup time, which I find to also be a positive, which I'll get to later. But the only thing I find lacking of the LMB that doesn't make it good is its projectile speed. As longer ranges you're gonna have to track and stuff like that, but close to mid-range you're pretty much dead accurate. As for improving your accuracy with the LMB, that's what people who want to play Musketeer have trouble with. You basically just have to keep playing the class. Just keep playing. The more you play, even if you go into a match and miss every single shot, it happens, and it will happen a lot. It happens to me too. Just the more you play, the more you'll realize at some point, you're not really aiming anymore, but you're gonna have enough muscle memory to like know where to aim and stuff like that. So just, if you want to get better, just keep playing, keep playing. If you die, it's fine. If you keep dying and keep dying, it's completely fine. Just keep going over and over again until you're gonna start getting better. Another way you can aim with Musketeer is using shift lock. And basically what you do is have your camera face as normal as I have right here. And then when they're facing in your general direction, it doesn't have to be directly at them face to face or lined up perfectly. As long as you're facing in the general direction, you click and then you pull back, and during that time you pull back, you use that time to basically line yourself up with them. And you notice the shift lock reticle, you can use it as a crosshair basically. So that's another way you can aim, but I still recommend you learn muscle memory as it's better overall. The next ability is the Q, which summons a rack of muskets, 3 to your left and 3 to your right, totaling to 6. And this is necessary as you have limited amount of muskets, 2 to begin with to be exact. And without muskets, you cannot use your LMB, so you're gonna need muskets for LMBs, pretty much. Do keep in mind when you click Q, it comes out instantly, but you're gonna have to wait for the rack animation to finish before you are able to pick anything up. But since it's instant, you're able to jump and Q before basically you reach max height to have your rack elevated at a high enough plane where, when you use your F ability later on, I'll explain, they can't really jump it, because it's elevated at a height where they can't jump, they can't stand on the ground where it'll go over them. It's like a perfect head hitbox height, Also make sure to know when you're gonna have your Q aimed either vertically or horizontally, because that's very important as well, because that can decide the fight for you. Onto the E, it is quite boring and very restricted, and it's my least favorite thing from the class, because all it is just a faster version of your LMB that comes out instantly and has a faster projectile speed and does 10 damage. What I also dislike is that it uses up all the bullets you have on you or that are around you, but it also can be good in different situations. Currently, the only good use for the E is for the 25 burst combo, because as using it anywhere else, it's just a waste of your resources, as basically using it just drains all the ammo you have on you or around you. So it's just better and more reliable to just use your LMB, as it does more damage than the E. But I will say using your E is much more beneficial than your LMB when you're fighting opponents that have low HP or basically at red HP. It's pretty self-explanatory why that's the case, but to those who don't really understand, since the E comes out instantly and it's much more faster than the LMB, the 10 damage, it'll just kill them instantly, and it's also much more useful if you're being chased and your opponent's around 20 HP or below. It's better to use your E and do the double shot that does 20 that comes out fast, instead of probably doing 2 LMBs or an LMB and an E. Your last ability is the F, and it only works with the muskets you have from the rack that's from your Q ability. And what it does, it takes all the muskets from the rack and shoots them in the direction you're facing. In general, this is a good ability to use, as it's good at baiting foes who think you're vulnerable by using it at a distance. You can also use it on enemies who are running from you, and even use it to deal high amounts of burst damage in combos. Also keep in mind, when used, each bullet does 15 true damage only, so debuffs do not take into effect, but remember, only 3 bullets will hit per player, resulting in 45 true damage, and it only pierces players, not terrain, so also keep that in mind. Alright, now that the moves of the classes have already been discussed, I'm going to be talking about playstyle, and what I'll be talking about is basically how I play Musketeer. It's a bit different than others, as it's more focused on mid to close range combat, usually against melee classes. It's a pretty basic playstyle that anyone can get into, and you don't really have to aim as much as you think. Because of your low HP and movement speed as Musketeer, you will never want to stand still in combat, like, at all. So what you're going to be doing is playing a sort of run and gun playstyle. You also might be wondering, how can we do this with such a long startup time for the LMB? But because of that, startup time is how the fighting is gonna work. So basically, to demonstrate, you jump, and once you reach max height, either be a little late or early, you click LMB, and then as soon as you land back on the ground, you'll notice your LMB has been fired. This is good when circling your enemy, as when you jump, you're harder to hit, and then the moment you land back on the ground, your LMB has been fired and it hits their target. Then you just repeat this process, jumping up, landing, firing, while also circling your enemy at the same time, and you'll pretty much melt, and it'll be hard for them to hit you. The reason I say anyone can do this and it's pretty basic is that, you know, you're just firing at close range, almost face to face with your target, so you'll hit, and the only motion you're gonna need to do is basically just 180s around them, or 90 degrees if you want to change it up. But that's pretty much it, just 90 degrees, 80 degrees around your enemy, and just face the direction, and boom, kamblamo, you're hitting them. Another thing you can do is, for players who aren't smart and are just kill hungry and see a Musketeer and it's all fresh meat, is what you can do is an easy target bait and burst. Basically, to explain it, is what you do is, if you're being chased, you set down your Q vertically and just keep running past it. They'll chase you since they're kill hungry, and what you do is press F for an easy 45 damage, and then you 180 25 burst for free 70 damage. You may not be confident doing the 180, but with enough experience circling your enemy as the playstyle I mentioned before, it's much easier than it looks. The last thing I'll be talking about will be combos, which there really isn't much of, as usually they're just burst options for the class, and your main source of damage will be your LMBs and stuff like that. The first and basically only combo you'll use until you're confident you can hit your shots would be LMB E, which is the 25 burst combo. Also, make sure to implement this when you're circling your enemies, so when you land on the ground and fire your LMB from the playstyle I mentioned before, you get the extra 10 damage, as that extra damage will go a long way in fights. These next combos are for those who have basically the LMB on lockdown and aren't afraid to play a bit risky for some, crazy reward. This combo is QF LMB E, which is a 70 damage combo, and it is the best combo for maximum burst in the shortest amount of time. But also keep in mind, when you use this, you have to be certain you will kill your enemy, as once you complete the combo, you will be musketless and you'll be defenseless. So you're gonna have to wait until your Q if you missed. This next combo is the same combo but a safer alternative where you'll have muskets when you're done, which is LMB E, Q, you pick up 2 muskets, and then you F. It still does 70 damage, but it takes longer to kill. But also keep in mind the difference from that, from taking longer to kill, you will still have 2 muskets with you. As you know, if you hit all your LMBs, including the 2 muskets you start with and the 6 you get from the rack, it's going to result in 120 damage. Though you can deal around the same damage in a shorter amount of time with LMB E, Q, LMB, pick up 2, F, and then LMB E again. It's 110 damage, which is 10 damage shorter, but it's much faster than shooting all the LMBs. Alright, now that I've done and explained everything that I could, it would be time for a montage to show it all together, but sadly, I'm a washed Musketeer player, so that's not gonna happen anytime soon. And I could do a montage, but I don't really like doing montages if it doesn't portray my actual skill, so no montage today. So is this my last video? Am I done? CS done forever? I do not know. Probably not, but you know what I do know is that Hatsume Miku is waiting for me, so toodles.